everyone. Welcome back to another episode of the Moss House Podcast. I'm your host, Hunter Begun, and I'm here with our current artist in resident, Leah Victoria.
Mm-hmm.
Nice, said it right without even asking this time. How are you doing?
I'm good. Thanks for having me.
Of course. Welcome to the podcast. It's a rite of passage for all the resident artists, so glad to have you on. How are you feeling today?
I'm a little sleepy. I got woken up at 3 by a raccoon, I think.
Really?
Yeah.
Are they trying to say hello or just be annoying?
I don't know. It scared me.
Really? Oh.
But I got a little more sleep in, so.
Good. I get there's a bunch of birds that try to bother. I think there's a single woodpecker that makes just noise for no reason, like outside my window. Bothers me every morning, and then eventually he just leaves. Same time every day, and then he just goes on his day.
I love woodpeckers.
Yeah, they're okay. I don't know. I honestly, we were just talking about how you have lots of likes and dislikes. Woodpeckers are not something I like. Just confirmed. Like when I see them like from afar, I'm like, okay, that's kind of cool. But they're anywhere near me making that annoying noise. I am not a fan. Not at all. So, how did you hear about Ma's house?
So I figured I'd be asked that, and I was actually trying to remember exactly how I heard about it, which I was like, I don't actually remember, but this is the best story I can piece together, which is that I did go with my mom to the Shinnecock powwow a year ago, and I
Really?
think there might have been some sort of booth or advertisement or
Kind of.
something that I caught wind of. And then a little bit later, like maybe a few months later, I was specifically seeking out residencies that prioritized Indigenous people, and I think it came up again, and I think I found it through Instagram, so some combination of all of those three things.
Yeah. It's very cool that you were at the powwow. A lot of people have not been to the powwow before they actually come on residency. They maybe go later on, like after they're done, because they don't know about Shinnecock. But that was the first time you ever went?
No, well, it was the first time I went to the Shinnecock powwow.
Mm-hmm.
I've been to the Settlecot or the Setauket powwow before, which is closer to where a lot of my family lives, and that's on the northern part of Long Island in Suffolk County, about an hour from here.
Oh, I see. Huh. This is the only powwow I've ever been to, is the Shinnecock powwow. I need to expand my horizons a little bit.
I really like the Setauket one. I have been to that one a couple of times. It takes place at the local elementary school, and it's something whenever I'm visiting family, I kind of drive by that area a lot, and it's just it's a lot smaller and more intimate, but in some ways I really like that. And but yeah, I didn't get to go last year to that one, so
I see.
yeah.
We had we called it the COVID powwow, like right when everything was like finally done and people were able to like go around. We just did like a tribal only powwow, so everyone that was part of the tribe or invited specifically can come. It was just very small, and it was very interesting. Usually there's like dust everywhere because so many people were walking. There was no dust. All the grass was still there. I was like, how's it even possible? I'm not covered in dirt every time I get out of my regalia. Just comfortable. It was nice. I did like the big powwow again. It was like the return back to regular life, felt like. So it's exciting.
Yeah.
This is going to be a very difficult question. How would you describe your art?
Well, I do many different forms of art. So the simplest thing I can say is they're all connected through my storytelling. I'm a storyteller. So I've been drawing comics since I was like 6. I identify as a cartoonist, even when I'm not actively making comics all the time. That is my language, is comics. I'm also an animator, painter, illustrator. I've done printmaking. I've done sculpture, ceramics, and more. In more recent years, a lot of my focus and energy has gone towards music and performance. I've done theater too, and all of it is woven together just with storytelling.
Very interesting. I've always wanted to make something like an animated project. How did you get into animating?
I took an animation class when I was in college. So that was my first time I did stop motion animation, not computer animation. I actually And animation's actually how I got into making music, because I started making animations and then I would make the soundtrack to the animations. And then was like, I'm really good at this. I really like doing this. I want to make more music. And to be frank, like, I've been a lover of music, very immersed in the world of music my whole life. I'd been going to music events since I was very, very young and hosting music shows as an adolescent and teenager, but never really felt comfortable making it myself or performing it to anyone else. I would kind of make music in the privacy of my own room and didn't want anyone to hear my voice, like terrified that I had a bad voice or that what I was making was awful. And it took years to kind of come out of that shell and realize that I actually feel the most liberated making music.
When I at your performance yesterday, I was thinking that a lot of it's very like the perfect soundtrack to like movie scenes. It felt like
Thank
like
you.
that you knew how you'd be very great at creating like the sounds of movies and stuff. So that's interesting. That's how it started with animation.
I appreciate hearing that. I've actually thought about that as a potential path down the line.
I think that's definitely a career option for you, especially since you've kind of already done it.
Mm-hmm.
So you just keep doing it.
I did it for little animations that did not really see the light of day.
Oh.
but
well, you can just be. This is the secret animations that.
Yeah, making work for my own amusement, essentially.
Oh, I see. I mean, when I was a young lad, like 13, there was this stick animation program that I used to like mess around with to make Dragon Ball Z fights of like my own. So, and it was very like, I guess it was kind of stop motion, but not really, because it was just whatever. But I just did that all for myself and never posted it because it was so bad. I was like, but I thought it was so cool, and I found like a few years ago, I was like, what the hell did I even make? But
well, if you attain enjoyment from it, that's what matters.
Yeah, it was worth it. I mean, I had a lot of fun doing it back in the day, and I think that made me kind of want to be a storyteller because I was telling my own little stories there. So maybe that one day I'll return to animation, but I don't think I'll be doing the animating. I think I'll be doing the voice acting and writing the show.
Oh, that's cool.
What I would like to do because I can't draw, unlike you. You can draw very. Those are all nice doodles you got going on there.
Oh yes, to the listeners out there, I am compulsively doodling throughout this entire podcast.
Okay, well, since you do so many mediums, what's your favorite?
Oh, I can't choose that.
You can't?
No.
Oh.
I can't choose. They're great. They're all great.
All great?
They're all great. Yeah.
Fair enough. How long have you been making music for?
Well, I did a little bit as a teenager, but was discouraged by the kind of I was playing in bands where it just wasn't my vibe. And then I came back to it in my early 20s. That was my secret music making period when no one heard my music. And I didn't really have any instruments. I just had a laptop that I would record into the laptop microphone and just use anything around me as an instrument, like a lamp or some silverware. And a bunch of my songs actually on my first album are from that era. And I did borrow keyboards from other people, so I did end up having more instruments, but the entire first album is recorded on my laptop mic.
Really?
Yeah.
I was listening to it.
Yeah. I think for the production that went into it, it's very well done, if I may toot my own horn. I'm very proud of that album, but I'm also extremely excited to now have more upgraded equipment. Yeah, I have a microphone now and some other fun devices. So I'm hoping the difference will be heard in the next album. And to more directly answer your question, I have been performing live since 2017. I took a break in 2020, 2021 from performing. And the earliest songs that I have recorded are probably from 2013.
Wow.
And I would say, like, if on my first album, yeah, the songs Rekka High, I think that's from 2013 or 2014, and there's a couple others on there that the songs on that album range from the earliest being 2013, I think, through 2019. So there's a large range of songs. That's just how, and it can be kind of heard on that album, like, oh, this is a very different style from this one, and I kind of like it that way. I like being a little all over the place.
Yeah, that's so interesting. I work with a bunch of artists, like rappers, and usually just rappers, but every time they make a new album, which is pretty often, it's always a different like sound. Yeah, and it's like within like 4 months to like make it, but to make music from like their 2013, not 2013, but when their first songs were so bad, like, and then now it's just night and day. But it's interesting to have everything from the beginning to like so long, 6 years of making music on one album.
Yeah,
interesting way to do it.
I mean, I write music very quickly. It's just the actual process of getting it into some sort of album is not something I prioritize. Yeah. So that's part of it.
Do you do all like the mixing and production yourself?
For the first album, yes. For the first album I did all of that myself. For the digital release, for the tape release, I think one of them, I did end up having my friend Paco, helped with some of the mastering, with some of the levels, but essentially I did everything myself.
Okay. There's a new album coming out, I believe.
Yes, but in the sense that I have all the songs written and I intend to release a new album, but I haven't actually, reached out to labels or begun the production process in that sense. So
for in your mind, are you going to studios to do it?
In my mind, no, I don't think I would go to a studio unless I was being paid. Unless I was making big money or something. If a big record label wants to pick me up, I probably, wouldn't mind actually making money doing this. Yeah. But in the meantime, I'm home recording for sure.
I see. Studios are kind of fun, though. I've been to a few. They're, the vibe is very different there. With all the other artists like coming in, popping their head and saying, "What's up?" And they like hear something they like. They'll come and be like, "Oh, you should do this on this." And then it like helps the song. I don't make music personally, so when I go there, I always am just like, oh, my friends will just be like, "Do you like this?" And be like, "Yeah, this could be better. This could be better." My opinion means literally nothing because I don't make music, but I think they like my music taste. So.
But you're an audience member. You're,
true.
You're
audience
a potential listener.
Very true. I'm a potential listener and a big supporter. So if I don't like it, then I could see why they want to know. Sorry. Good? Okay. Let me write that down again. It was just like 2 seconds. 14, 10, around. Okay, cool. Okay, so next question. What is a form of art that you don't know a lot about but would like to try?
Ooh, I like that question. Let me think about that. I'm sure I have plenty of answers. I really want to learn archery.
Archery?
Yeah.
I see.
And just like I don't really have any survival skills. I'm lumping this into art form, but it is an art form, and I don't have a lot of handiwork skills. Like I would love to be a little more capable of like building out a house or something like that, which I have no area of expertise in. So
I would like to be able to build a house, but I don't know how Jeremy did it. I should have watched. He should have made a TikTok of how to do everything while he was doing this, so I could look back.
Yeah, I mean, I'm someone who is just interested in learning everything. So,
Okay.
like, oh, I'd like to be better at gardening or, this
Hmm.
and that.
I would never want to be better at gardening myself, but now that I think about it, I would like to be able to grow my own sustainable food source.
Mm-hmm.
Which is nice. So I guess I do kind of want to learn how to be good at gardening. I'm not very good at taking care of plants. I often kill them by mistake, and I don't know why. I give them water and I talk to them, but it doesn't work out. Um, okay, here's another one. How does your way of making art change when you're on a residency rather than when you're at home?
Well, that's a tricky question for me because what is home for me changes constantly.
Mm,
So there isn't actually a consistent way that I work at home because my home is always changing.
let me see.
So I would say that coming out here was a respite from my current home because my current home is in the city and I had just been working full time and not really I didn't even unpack yet. So not really having any time to make art. And then coming here and being like, the woods, space, I can kind of chill a little. And I set up all my stuff at the desk and was just able to make music and not worry about like someone overhearing and being mad because I'm supposed to be here and I'm allowed to take up space. So there's a little bit of that of like, okay, I'm allowed to, like, I'm here to do this, so I'm allowed to do this instead of kind of feeling like I have to squeeze into some time or place where I'm not inconveniencing another person.
Sounds like a big what's the word for it? Well, since I can't think of the word, oh well.
A dance?
Not a dance. I was like relief. I kept thinking release.
Respite?
Yeah, definitely a
Yeah.
nice relief that you can just
Like exist.
do whatever you want to do here.
Yeah,
No one's
I
gonna
can
be
just
like,
be here.
what are you doing? Stop
Yeah.
making that racket or whatever. No one's gonna bother you. Oh, so yesterday during performance, I don't think you're actually like performing one of the songs this one, but you're just talking. Actually, hard to remember, but you said the word seer, and
Yes.
you mentioned you and your friend were both seers, and I wanted to know about that, what that is.
So seer as in someone who sees, another word for like mystic or clairvoyant type. A lot of my friends have those capabilities, and I think a lot of people in general have those capabilities. It's just a matter of tapping into it. Many artists are sensitives. So I would just say that like most people I know have the capability of tapping into their inner wisdom and intuition. And for some people, what shows up is louder or more obvious. So for me, for example, my skill set is a little bit more in the dream world. I can receive messages, of the spiritual type in my sleep, or whereas I have friends who might experience more in the waking world, but they don't experience in the sleep world. And then we often, will sometimes compare notes if we need to. I don't, and I'll just say like I'm not advocating for kind of prying into other people's business with this skill set. Usually any messages I receive are typically directly from my own ancestors, and it relates to my life specifically. Like, hey, we just wanted to warn you about like this potential thing in your life. Like, watch out for this. Or, hey, like you should maybe try taking this plant. Like, this is a plant we think should be in your life. It'll be something like that. So fairly like helpful and benign information, or sometimes not. It could be like, hey, just watch out for this person. They don't have great intentions. Like that kind of thing. So
Seems very, very useful.
yeah.
Yeah, I used to.
In the context of my speaking of seers in the reading or musical piece, I was referring to our travels together and how we're just sensitive to if like the spirits of the land are happy or not. And that was sort of the point I was making, is like, oh, the spirits of the land are not happy here.
So, yeah, you mentioned how horrible Central Florida was. I thought that was hilarious. And I was like, they hate Florida, don't we all?
I mean, I know it's like, it's like often the butt of jokes. I don't want to dismiss all of Florida like that, or the actual indigenous like natives of Florida who haven't paved over the swamps and turned it into strip malls. I didn't, this is not to generalize all of Florida either. I didn't make it down too far south, for example, but I was outside of Gainesville in Orlando. I had gone down there for a wedding on the coast, and then I was playing a show in Gainesville and visiting family outside Orlando, and I just felt like the entire terrain was cursed.
Yeah, it really
like deeply cursed.
I've been to a bunch of places in Florida, a bunch of times, and Panama City Beach, just like on vacations with my friends. Very bizarre place. Freaky people. There's like no rules.
Yeah,
there are no rules in Florida. It's so it's like nice and crazy.
Yeah, I mean, I was conversing with some folks in Gainesville, including some indigenous folks from the region, and we were in agreement about this and just having a discussion about it, just being like, yeah, this land should not have been developed. Like, I mean, you can say that for a lot of land, but it felt particularly true in Florida, in Central Florida. Like, this is a swamp. Like, there's gators. Yeah, gators. Like, it's not human friendly. Like, I mean, or not the way that we're, it really is truly just miles of strip mall, and Disneyland. Yeah, Disneyland.
And then Miami.
And like just really sketch motels, but like yeah, and I don't know, I'm drawing a blank right now, but yeah, I think we did reference, well, yeah, maybe we hear all these wild stories of, people acting super erratically.
Yeah, maybe because
the land is cursed.
Yeah, the curse comes out. Yeah. That makes so much sense, honestly. You look up like Florida man doing anything on any date.
Yeah,
and done something.
And
horrible.
I felt similarly. I mentioned this in the reading. Like, my drive through rural Pennsylvania really spooked me. I felt so spooked by it.
Did you go to Philadelphia at all by any chance?
I've been to Philly. This particular trip I was referencing a drive to Pittsburgh, which I happen to really like Pittsburgh, and I'd like to get to know more. But yeah, Philadelphia was one of the places where we stopped on tour, and it varies by neighborhood. Of course, you can't just generalize an entire city as
It's only 7 miles, 8 miles.
Yeah, well, we were playing. Me and my friend, we were playing a show in central North Philadelphia, off like a very, very busy street. I can't quite remember the street, but something along the lines of like Broadway or Broad Street, and a very, very busy zone. And I remember her just being like, "Oh my gosh, spirits of the land are not well here."
Philadelphia is cursed, 100%.
Yeah,
it looks like a giant. I lived there for 3 years.
Yeah,
and I was just like, once I started looking around, I was like, well, these buildings are strange. And then I looked at like the giant map, and it looked like an alchemy circle, like my energy is being transmuted and everyone's getting taken advantage of. I was like, what the hell am I doing here?
I will say, like, the people drive there really, like, the most aggressive drivers I've ever I'm a New Yorker, and those are the most aggressive drivers I've ever experienced. I actually
liked it because there were no, like I said about Florida, there's just generally, people are, it's like very like free, like the American classic, like we can do whatever we want. We can get 1 million guns and smoke anywhere we want and drink whatever we do, whatever we want to do. Philadelphia is the same, just when it comes to driving. You can park wherever you want. Just as long as your hazards are on, people are going to go around. There's no, it doesn't matter if you stop at the stop signs. Red lights, you can just go. People do not care. But because the police have so much actual crime to deal with, if I feel like they're not going to stop you for rolling a stop sign. Like, oh, that guy's not killing anyone. Okay, he's fine. Good to go.
Yeah, I saw a car get its door just like swiped right off.
Ooh, yeah.
Like in the middle of the day, and no one did anything about it.
Yeah, they just. My car got hit by a cop once.
Oh wow.
And they didn't do anything about it.
Right.
They were arresting like one of my neighbors, and I was getting back from my trip to Buffalo, New York, And I got back home, and I look out the window. There's a bunch of cops near my car, driving erratically. The next morning, I go out, my windshield's gone. Not my windshield, my mirror's gone. One time, I was at Temple University. I was visiting a friend, and she lived right outside of the police station. And Verizon was doing some work there, and they spray painted my car for some reason. And the police were like, "Oh yeah, we saw him do that," and they didn't do anything to stop them. It's a very strange place there. But it was my home for 3 years, living with a bunch of musicians. Very interesting time.
Which part? Like west, north, south?
North-ish.
North-ish.
It was on the way towards North Philadelphia, for sure. Like Somerset Street, near this nice pizzeria. It was like the Italian street. For some reason, I got a house there. And all the Italians are pretty nice. All the neighbors are nice. And then people slowly started converting, like renting their homes out to more into, like young people who want to move into the city. Mm-hmm. They've been there for like 100 or 200 years in Philadelphia. Mm-hmm. And they were all leaving now because their homes were going up in price, and they saw their way out. As
it goes.
Yeah. I mean,
all places. It's happening everywhere.
Yeah, my rent was so cheap at the time in like 2018, 2019. We got an entire house for $2,100 a month, all four. Like I had 3 roommates.
Yeah,
it was so nice there, and we were all friends. So like, we were all friends at a time at least. So it was nice. Okay, I also wanted to ask about your comic books. How did you decide to start? Or when did you decide to start like publishing your own?
Oh, I've been publishing, honestly, even since I was like 13. Even since I was 6, I've been producing like comics since I was 6. Like even when I was like 7, I would like be like, okay, here's my magazine, and like have this like stapled thing together that I would give to my family or something. And then like at 13, I got like nearly all of the kids in the middle school to contribute something to a zine that I had called Random that had like 4 issues or something. And
that's pretty cool.
So I've been just doing that. It's for a long time, and then it just was very obvious and easy to continue doing that in a more professional manner in my 20s. And I just took a break from it because I just wanted to focus more on my own work, because it's a lot of energy and time and resources to be an editor and publisher and distributor, especially managing like, the anthology I put out, which is called Happiness, and that lasted from like 2011 to 2019 was the most recent issue, and there's 5 issues, and the last 4 or the last 3 of them have over 20 artists contributing numerous page stories in each issue, so it's a big undertaking.
Wow. Huh. Would you ever want to, like, make a comic for, like, a Marvel comic or whatever, anything like that? Or do you just want to stick with your own, like, stories?
I wouldn't do a Marvel or DC comic. That's just not really the world of comics that I make work in. I'm much more in, like, the underground scene, which is far weirder. I did work for a comics distributor in my 20s where I did have to kind of go through a lot of Marvel and DC stuff. I did a lot of like digital upgrading and stuff because a lot of that stuff is digitized now. But that's not, I would never, no. I always got to be my own boss, kind of. I always have to write my own stories. I'm not writing someone else's stories.
So like if they said, here's Spider-Man, do what you want.
Absolutely not.
No? Oh my God. That's like my dream.
Absolutely not. I mean, not to say that I always have to be my own, like, I always have to write those stories. There are people I would love to work with that are friends or peers that I would consider, drawing their stories or something like that. But it would have to be quite the mutual agreement, and that, as opposed to working for a corporation.
Interesting. If I want to make, my dream is to make a Batman Beyond movie. I want them to trust someone to trust me enough to be like, here, you get your own Batman movie. And I'll be like, okay, there we go. That's it. I made it. Then I make my Batman trilogy, and I'm never seen again.
I mean, I respect it's fine. Like, I get it. I appreciate like the franchise or whatever.
Yeah.
So
it's almost blasphemous. I can't believe if you were given Spider-Man, but I understand where you're coming from.
I don't.
At the same time,
I really am not a Spider-Man fan. Absolutely
well, did you read
not.
comics?
I did. Yeah, I've seen like I've read a million comics. Okay. Yeah, okay. I've seen all of them.
Okay. Because for like me, like I don't really listen to podcasts like ever, but I have one, so I don't understand like if you just, like make comics without like reading them because they're kind of like you don't want to take other people's style.
I definitely read comics.
Okay, what's your favorite?
Oh boy, you know, I can't. I don't even know how to answer that. There's so.
What's some of them that you like? Then you don't have to pick a favorite.
Okay, I'm gonna go back into the old brain vault and unlock some core memories. I really loved these are comics that struck me when I was in high school kind of and pushed me towards finding my voice. They're still like the comics I think back to as being really important to me. They're pretty much all like autobiographical wild raw works by women. Like I really liked Julie Doucet's work. I liked Phoebe Gleckner a lot. Just trying to think now. Like non-woman work I really liked is David B's Epileptic, which is a story about his brother with epilepsy. That one really impacted me, and I really liked the drawing in that. So those are just like 3 off the top of my head.
Very interesting. They're not like, where did you find them? Like, were they in the library? How did you stumble across
They're pretty
these?
well known within, like, I would say that, you know, it sounds like you're very familiar with, like, Marvel DC universe, but, like, outside of that universe of comics, these are very reputable, well-known people.
Okay.
I think what one of the earliest works I remember being introduced to, like, maybe when I was, like, 6 or 7, because I had a family friend who was also a cartoonist and kind of like a punk and into a lot of this like kind of at the time it was like 90s like riot girl punk women comics type stuff, and she introduced me to Trina Robbins, who is like an older school cartoonist from sort of like from the days of like R. Crumb and those folks. Are you familiar with any of that?
R. Crumb?
Yeah, he's probably the most famous I can think of.
Kind of sounds familiar.
Yeah.
I don't want people to think that I have any idea what I'm talking about.
Okay.
You were definitely
it's okay.
The expert.
I was an expert at one point. I've fallen off the wagon a little bit. I am not quite as in touch with the current comic scene because I've just there's only so much I can pay attention to at once. So, but I was gonna say Trina Robbins put out this anthology of like women superheroes that I was pretty obsessed with. And that introduced me to a lot of work. So I think, you know, if I had to name like a DC superhero or something, I'm probably like, I don't know, like it's probably someone in that anthology or something like that. I liked Death in the Sandman series and Delirium, because they were like, so that was like my gothic weird version of being into a superhero.
I see. That's pretty cool. Have you ever been to a Comic-Con? Or are they?
I did go to like one of the mainstream Comic Cons for work once because I worked for a mainstream distributor, and I'm not super into like fan culture. That's just not like I guess I'm a fangirl in like a more punky DIY kind of way, like weird occult. No, not occult, like a cult. Cult. That's what I mean. Not a cult. No, I am not an occultist. I mean a cult, like, you know, like cult movies or like
a cult classic.
Yeah,
like,
yeah,
people know,
like weird underground noise music, like that kind of. So that's its own way of being kind of a fan culture, I guess. But I'm not like a cosplayer or things like that.
Neither am I. The first time I went to Comic-Con New York for the first time ever this year, and it's basically comics are kind of being pushed aside. I don't even think you should call it Comic-Con anymore.
It's about like merch or
it's like anime. Some comics are like in the back, like Marvel is there. they always have like do something.
Yeah.
And then everything else is like anime stuff, and everyone's dressed up as anime characters.
I mean, the thing to remember is that like Marvel and DC are corporations. Like Marvel's
Yeah.
owned by Disney, so it's just like it's meant to make profit. It's not. I don't see them as like that creative anymore.
Yeah, they definitely are falling off deep end. But they have like the artists there that were fun to talk to. Like they just want to talk to people. So I got to meet a bunch of cool artists, made some of the stories, made comics, and it's like the hunt for now. The new big thing is like having the PSA graded comics in like cars and stuff, and they have like a ton of those. So that was interesting. Yeah, I just kind of started getting into them. Got this one like Luke Skywalker comic. Wow, everything I like is from a corporation. You mentioned it. It's kinda crazy. Star Wars.
Support independent artists.
Yeah. I have to find them.
There's many.
Yeah. It's definitely harder to find the independent artists because it's so much harder for them to get people's eyes.
So let me interrupt you. And also to continue answering your question, I have been to plenty of comics and zine festivals. They're not Comic Cons. Comic Con is like an entity that is directly tied to these corporations, but like there are tons of like art book fairs, like comic book fairs, zine fairs that happen like throughout the year all over the place. And that is where you will find independent cartoonists that are doing really cool work.
I'll keep my eyes out for them. Where do they like just on social media? You can find them.
Oh yeah. Mm-hmm.
Okay.
There's like the Brooklyn Art Book Fair coming up. There's Brooklyn Zine Fest. There's Printed Matters Art Book Fair. Those are just like a couple that immediately come to mind. I don't know about out here, but I'm sure there's something.
There's probably it's hard to like meet people here that are near my age group because they can't afford to live here.
Yeah.
Unless you're on the res. So I was like, oh man, do I go back on? I hate Facebook so much.
I don't think it's on Facebook.
No, I'm just saying like I was like, well, I wonder if there are any groups like do people do anything out here? Like I can never. There's like nothing happening.
Yeah.
At this time of the year, not in the summer.
Yeah, it's rough out on Long Island.
Yeah, you just go outside and there's like people are either rush hour people going from work or there's like two people on the street going to the deli or like looking at the beach from their car.
Right.
Strange out here. Okay. So what makes you want to make art?
Just my internal drive to do it.
Really?
It's just who I am. I've always been this way.
When did you decide to take art seriously? Where you're like, this is my career path?
I feel like I still don't take it that seriously. I'm very like silly
that's fine.
in my practice, but no, I guess that's not entirely true. I do take my music seriously and such. But I don't know. I took it seriously when I was trying to get a scholarship to art school so that I could afford to go to art school. So like in high school, I took it really seriously to try to like have a good portfolio and things like that. And then once I was in school, I had to keep my grades up to keep the scholarship. So I took it really seriously then, and it just keeps going and going.
I see. Yeah. How do grades get like done in art school? I wanted to go in art school like after I dropped out of Buffalo, and I was like, oh, maybe I'll go to art school. But I never went. I just was like, never mind about school. But I always wondered how the grading is because the teachers are just like, this is good, A. This is bad, F.
I think it depends on the school, and I like went long ago enough that it might be different now. So I don't even feel like I should answer this question. I'll just say I think it's stupid. So yeah. Like I don't think art. I don't know. I didn't really care for the grading system where I went. So that's.
Oh. Where did you go?
I went to the Rhode Island School of Design.
Really?
Yes.
Do you like it just in general?
It was fine.
Just fine.
It was.
Jeez.
I really enjoyed being in Providence in 2006, 2007 because of all of the wild art that was being produced there at the time, and it was just like culturally very impactful. I was inspired by a lot of my peers who were very talented. I don't think I was in the right program for myself. I was in the illustration department, which at the time was quite underfunded and like just not. I just did not feel like I belonged there, but just the way that the school is structured is like really tries to kind of put people in boxes as opposed to allowing them to experiment outside of different mediums.
Huh, that's so strange for an art school to try to get people like to fit in a box.
I was constantly reprimanded for like not doing things the way my teachers wanted me to do things.
It sucks.
So it was just a bummer.
Yeah,
but I think I was just handed like a not the best card. Like there's plenty of teachers I could have had that probably would have been really like supportive, and I didn't have those teachers. Not to throw everyone under the bus. I can think of like one or two teachers I really liked. And at least within my department. Outside of my department, I had a lot of better experiences. So yeah.
I like to throw my schooling into under the bus. I blame them. I guess. Well, yeah. Oh, there's always a few good teachers. I feel like nowadays it's not like everyone's a great teacher. There's a few bad people. It's more like a lot of people are bad or teachers. And I used to be a teacher also.
Yeah, I mean, I can have like a whole podcast like critiquing the structure of art institutions. Yeah. So.
Yeah, my art teachers used to turn me off art because they used to say it was bad. I was like, well, how do you even decide if it's good or bad? Doesn't make any sense. To have like one person decide. Okay, well, we can talk about this forever, but so where do you see your art taking you? / what's like your dream? I guess focusing on the music aspect.
Focusing on the music aspect, I don't know. I want to. It would be great to like make a little more money doing what I love doing. I want to do more touring. You know, I do want to release another album, and it would be great to get a little like on some sort of label so I don't have to fully fund it myself. And it would be great to have like, I would love to make some music videos, but also like have funding to do that so I can like properly compensate everyone involved. But just wanting to tour and play more and produce more music in general. And a lot of it isn't money oriented. It would just be nice if I could actually make a little more money doing it. So
nice. I started my art career with music videos. I always thought they were so interesting and fun to make a scene out of music. I think your music's perfect for like a music video, like a real music video, not like what they make now, like the classic, like people actually make a story out of the video.
Yeah, I mean, I would say that's been a huge like influence in my life. I was a big music video head throughout my whole life. Like I've seen every music video. Yeah. I still like, the only reason I know any like contemporary pop music is because I still like go on YouTube and I'm like, all right, what are the new music videos? I gotta watch the music videos.
There's this one guy, he has his company, Lyrical Lemonade. It's like taking over the music industry that I'm kind of into. And he's good, but I hate him at the same time because he makes the same video for everyone. And now it's just like cool effects of people like dancing and like having guns on the screen. And I miss like the crazy storytelling and just like, who knows? What's his name? Cole Bennett. Although I don't want to say that. Okay, I don't hate you, Cole Bennett, but please do something different every once in a while. It would really heal my soul in the music industry.
I have no idea who that is.
Okay. If you looked up, he's like the most popular guy right now, in rap at least.
Oh wow!
For music videos. If you look up just Lyrical Lemonade, you'll see like 100 videos of all like the big artists. They all go to him.
Oh, okay, good to know.
Yeah, and they're all the same video. It's very peculiar.
Can you give an example
of
a video or like an artist? Like maybe I've seen it and I can just know what you're referencing.
Let's see. So, like,
I'll just look it up.
Blueface, like these are Blueface was like the first one I ever saw, and NLE Choppa. They had this huge video, which I liked, and then it's hard to explain. Just everybody has one with him now. I don't know many artists that don't.
I'm looking it up.
Yeah, definitely look it up. He's like this young white dude.
Oh, weird. Okay. Juice WRLD.
Oh yeah, no. Juice WRLD.
This is like beyond. I'm too old to know who any of these other people are. So this is beyond me. I know who Doja Cat is. That's like it. So he
has one with Doja Cat also. Jeez, he's taking everyone.
Okay.
Yeah, so they're taking all. I think he's one of the people ruining the music videos for from having like real stories and are interesting because he makes them like easily palpable. You don't have to think, you just watch, and there's like all these flashing colors on the screen.
I think that's just like a generational thing also, though. It's like everyone is doing that.
Yeah, exactly. Everyone's doing it. Everyone's copying him. That's his fault. Because
Oh.
what gets popular, everyone tries to emulate. I want to go back to the crazy person music videos that explain the song somehow. And then you get to have, like, Childish Gambino.
I like, yeah.
His music videos
he
are
has
very
really
good.
good music videos. Yeah.
And I remember discovering them in high
Yeah.
school. I was like, watching the first one, and I was like, at the end, I was like, what is going on? And they all told like another part of like his little alien story.
It's funny though, because that just like illustrates our age difference. Because you're saying, "Oh, I just want to go back to the time," and I'm like thinking, like, "Yeah, the early '90s."
Well, yeah. But then that's like even
Childish Gambino. That was like 5 years ago. I don't know.
that was like 10 years.
10 years ago, whatever.
Yeah. But that's just like the most recent of going there, and then going in further back to like.
All right. I think we're getting a little off topic.
We can get off topic. It's fine. This is what happens on the podcast. We get very off topic.
All right.
We just discuss the most random
Childish
things sometimes.
Gambino, check.
Yeah.
Got to talk about him.
He has good.
He is good. Check.
He has good music videos.
We like him.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Okay. I guess I have like 2 more questions for you. Maybe 3. And I don't think, and this is probably one of the questions that you are gonna have a hard time answering. But what do you think is the most important personality trait for an artist?
Personality trait?
Mm-hmm.
Well, I don't want to. I could say for myself.
Yeah, in your opinion.
I think the ability to improvise, just be fluid in general is important. Like, because that relates to being open, like able to receive different things. Like, just for me, being able to be fluid, flexible, improvising is a big part of my practice.
That's a good one. Definitely, improvisation is very important. All right. Is there something? What is something I should have asked you about?
You could ask me about anything. I don't know. You haven't touched upon some of the actual themes of my music or artwork.
Okay. We can talk about that.
But I don't really want to lead the discussion. So
That's fair. Making it hard, difficult for me. Keep me on my toes. Let's see. Okay. One thing I actually did want to ask was, what genre does your music fall in?
Oh my god, it's so hard to answer. Yeah, I don't think it actually fits into a genre, but I also my music is in the realm of like electronic experimental. Like someone described my music as avant pop, which I really like. As in avant-garde, but like with a melodic pop element, because I used to say that like, oh, I do like experimental music, but then people like automatically assume that means like unlistenable noise, which is not what I do. I write songs, I write melodies, I write verses. But there is a large like experimental avant-garde influence. A lot of my, I do a lot of sound recording, layering, distortion, electronic experimentation, all sorts of things. I'll ask a question. I'll just answer a question that should be asked. Some musical influence.
That's actually what I was gonna ask just now. Did you discover this like sound from someone else doing it, or you just come up with it on your
absolutely
own?
No. My sound is my own sound for sure.
Mm-hmm.
I've just been listening to so much different. I mean, it is of course a conglomerate of like all of the sounds I've ever heard. Like yes and no. Yes, I'm inspired by everything I've ever listened to, but everything I've listened to is so broad ranging and diverse that it is not direct. It cannot be directly sourced to one particular sound. Mm-hmm. I've been listening to genres from across the board my whole life. So that even since like early childhood. So I think I can reference a couple of artists that I think have a heavier influence, and that seems to that feels like a lot of like sort of things in the realm of like Brian Eno, Velvet Underground, like Suicide, Iggy and the Stooges, like that era. People compare me a lot to Patti Smith and Meredith Monk, which are also of that generation. So like I can, the way that I sing sometimes, I can kind of think, oh yeah, I'm kind of channeling like Suicide right now. But there are just so many other influences going on. So
when you're performing, do you think you're kind of like, when I was listening and when all the wind was like coming around, I kind of felt like you were like channeling some like spirits to come and say hello? Do you think that happens like often?
If I'm singing to the trees, yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's exactly why I wanted to sing in the woods, because I think I specifically prefer singing outdoors in the woods because I think the trees are a great audience. They're really great at receiving and reciprocating. Venues can be chill, depends on the vibe, but yeah, for sure.
I've only ever seen one other artist perform in the woods, and their name was Rory. They were pretty cool.
Cool.
Let's see. Okay. So I have another question about your music, but it's more like technical side.
Mm-hmm.
Do you know who like started doing the so like a lot of your music, at least as performing, you were making it during basically like live, you're creating it.
Yeah.
Makes sense? Like what is that machine? So first I want to ask, what is that machine called that you're using? Because I completely don't know.
So my setup that I had yesterday was, so I have my own mixer, of course, and my own mic. I do have a loop pedal that I bring things through. That might be what you're referring to.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And my loop pedal has the capability of, it also has like a vocal effects on it. Mm-hmm. So that's why I was able to kind of change some of the sounds, like that cool robot sound, where I really like using that because it actually creates a bass tone, and then I can actually make a bass beat with my voice just using this simple vocal effect. And that's how I kind of I was putting the accordion through that robot effect, which distorted it in such a gnarly way that, and I don't really think of it as robot, it's just called robot. Mm-hmm. It's yeah. But it's not actually a robot sound, but it like brought the traditional kind of like hee accordion to this really like dark like kind of sound, and I really enjoyed that. So yeah, I was using a loop pedal. A lot of solo musicians, especially in the more like experimental genres, do use loop pedals. I also had a sampler with me where I had a little bit, I didn't really use that one very much, but you can pre-record sounds and then play it back just like you would with a laptop. And then I did have my keyboard on me, which it's like it's a pretty janky keyboard. You could see it was taped together, but it has some synthy sounds on it. I can change the the release, I can do all sorts of effects on that one also. So while I'm playing, so it's just fun to turn knobs sometimes and see what happens.
Yeah, I get that. Let's see. I was just thinking. So, what are the narrative themes of your music? What are your narrative themes?
Oh yeah, thank you for asking me such a hard-hitting question.
I didn't even think of that question.
Yeah. So if you listen to the lyrics and body of work of a lot of my music, the underlying theme is related to colonialism or decolonialism. So it all actually has a native narrative to it. A lot of it is about what it means to live in a colonized society, and what as a person who is indigenous. So that seems relevant to bring up.
Yeah, 100%, especially since we're on tribal land and we're literally take one step out and billion-dollar houses basically, or $500 million houses surrounded.
Yes, I should also mention, I've been told I'm the first resident here who's actually also from Long Island. So I also have that like shared experience of I'm not from the South Fork specifically, so like this is a different area for me, but it's still just sort of, there's a, large kind of ideological feeling here of a lot of the non-native people here who are just incredibly wealthy and taking up space in that kind of way.
Yeah.
So
that's interesting. I think, you definitely might be the first artist from Long Island. We have people from the city, but I think you're the closest.
Yeah. And I also identify as being from the city because I've spent pretty much my entire adulthood there, and I also spent a lot of time there growing up. And I also lived in Ecuador as a kid. So, I'm from more than one place. But, and then, some other themes in my music are definitely like ancestry, family, magic, and, the usual love and loss, so on and so forth.
Mm-hmm. I noticed the narrative yesterday was all like the 3 years of during COVID-19 of like having to move around a bunch.
Yes.
Do you want to like talk about that a little bit of that show? Because I think that will be available for people to watch and like.
Yeah. It was just sort of. Before 2020, I was very well in the habit of like writing down stories or lived experiences, note-taking, journaling, whatever, comics. And since the pandemic hit, I kind of fell behind on that practice, on that ritual. And as a result, I've just been carrying all these stories in my head that have been really wanting to go out somewhere. So this seemed like a starting place of like, okay, let me just get a couple things down. Like, and I was very brief, my starting point was actually the fact that I've moved so many times since the beginning of the pandemic. I've moved like about 10 times.
Wow.
I just haven't found a stable home. Much of it has not really been my own choice. It has to do with getting priced out of places essentially. But also just the nature of, rather than viewing it as like this curse of like, wow, I just never seem to have like a stable home. Like I've moved so much in my life. I'm leaning more into this feeling of like, well, actually I'm just a nomad, and it's okay. It's okay to like kind of live a little bit more as this, what's the term? Like a troubadour, like a traveling musician, essentially. Like that is, I still really value, like I would love to just have a place that's a little more stable of my own, but I'd like the idea of like having a garden or something like that, a place to come home to. But I don't remember what we were talking about. My brain went off somewhere.
Oh, good. Well, we were talking about the narrative of
the pandemic
performance.
Oh, the narrative, yeah. So the performance, the reading I did in between songs, that was structured. I structured it in, when I was sitting down to write, I structured it in chapters of like, okay, where did I live? First, I was in Ecuador. Then I went to Setauket. Then I was in like these 3 neighborhoods in New York City, like, went from Crown Heights to Greenpoint to Flatbush, and then I was in the Mid-Hudson Valley, and then I was like touring a bunch, and I was traveling on my tours and in all these different states and such, and then returned to Long Island to Port Jefferson, and now I'm back in the city again in Queens. And I just decided to make a brief story around each place I had been that related to that place. So
how long were you in Mid-Hudson Valley for?
A year.
Really? Where?
I was in Hopewell Junction.
I don't think I know where that is. I lived in Westchester for most of my life, like 4 to like 18.
Mm-hmm.
So I like the mid.
It's near Fishkill.
Oh, okay. I know where that is.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, area.
Very, very much just like in a house in the woods type situation.
Yeah, that's
yeah.
My dad still lives in Westchester, and they are basically just a house in the middle of the woods. And I think it's so weird that people that live there keep crashing their car. They get like entranced by the woods.
Oh,
there's so much like, I feel like it lulls them to sleep when they're driving, like at 2 p.m. and it's always the same beautiful road of just like surrounded by trees, and people are just like hit another car or something.
We lived on like a very windy mountain road, and people would just like barrel through it at like 60 an hour.
Really fast.
Yeah. Without, it's not really like a shareable road. So I was always feeling like blessed every time I didn't get hit by a car.
Every time you survived that little crazy street.
Yeah.
It's the amount of people who crash because they don't know that leaves are like impossible to drive on. You can't like turn on leaves, and there's so many trees there in the Hudson Valley. I used to have my friends all the time when they first got their car. They'd like try to take a turn during the fall and just crash into a tree. Yeah, we got a little off topic. Now we're talking about how people crash in the Hudson Valley, but I do like the Hudson Valley. Did you ever go to a Renegade game by any chance?
No, I don't know what that is.
Hudson Valley Renegades.
What?
The Hudson Valley Renegades.
What is that?
They're a minor league baseball team.
Oh, I don't care. I'm sorry.
I mean, no one really cares about them.
I don't care about any of that.
It was fun.
Okay.
If you're ever back in the area, you should go to Hudson. It's like $2. You go. The seats are way too close, so you're in danger of getting hit in the head with a baseball at all times.
I had mixed feelings about being up there, to be honest. So
really, you didn't like it?
Well, I didn't stay. So
what didn't you like about it?
I felt like surrounded by white people.
Yeah, that's how it is. That's how it is over there.
And it was unaffordable.
Yeah, 100% agree.
So I loved the nature, of course. I love the nature almost everywhere I go, except Florida. I did not like the nature in Florida, and don't like swamps apparently. I don't like alligators, but I mean, not to say don't like. I just don't feel safe around them. That's a better way of phrasing it. I can't say I dislike any animal, but
really,
yeah,
I don't really like birds very much, but.
Like maybe you should look into that.
Or horses.
Maybe they're actually your friends.
Horses look weird to me. I think
there's something to unpack there. Maybe.
Yeah, I think in like a past life I was like killed by a horse or something.
Maybe look into it.
Yeah. They can't even look me in the eye. The same if I look at them, but I don't know. That's just me. You're a fan of horses?
I'm not a horse girl, if that's what you're asking.
No, I'm just saying, like, you're like, I like this guy. Like, you see a horse, you're like, you get excited.
They're fine.
They're fine?
They're fine.
I see a horse, I'm like, oh, God. Another one.
I don't have strong feelings about horses.
I do. I truly have strong feelings about horses. But I understand why people would not. Honestly, it's probably better to not have a strong feeling or a negative feeling about horses, because they're everywhere. Well, what work are you most proud of? I think you mentioned that it was your music, but is there anything else that you're very proud of that you've made?
Well, yeah, I said I was proud of my last album. I think it's good. I like my drawings and paintings. I don't know. Yeah, I enjoy the artwork that I make.
So if I were to ask you, show me like one comic panel that you've created. Is there one you think of like, oh this is my favorite one I've ever made?
No, comics are a work in progress for me. Like that's something where I feel like my brain moves too quickly, or I'm just like something I made a year ago. I'm like over it.
Really?
Yeah. I just changed too fast. I think.
You feel the same way about like your music?
No.
It's like which one's your favorite?
I think. The music I've made in the past still resonates to me really strongly. Whereas like comics I've made in the past, I'm like, okay, that was who I was then, and that's not where I am now.
Do you think it's easier to evolve in as an artist in the like the drawing medium, the illustration medium, than it is as a musician in that medium, or vice versa?
They're just different. I don't know, similar, different. I don't know. I don't have an answer to that.
You don't have an answer?
I don't have an answer to that.
I think I kind of worded that incorrectly, but so we'll just throw that one away. All right, well, we've hit an hour and 7 minutes. Some of it was definitely me just going off topic, which is now becoming a staple of the Moss House podcast and of myself.
Well, you have the power to go back in there and edit things if you wish to.
Yeah, I do like to keep them in. I feel like it's nice to get a little personality in there of just like random shit. Because my day-to-day life. Random shit happens. And okay, so at the end of the podcast, I always like to give the artist an opportunity to plug like everything that they want people to check out, like your websites. Could be your friends' websites, could be like an organization you want people to check out. Just anything. It can be and multiple things, and all your social media as well. So this is your opportunity to do that.
I think I'll keep things on the simpler side, but you can find my most recent body of work at leahvictoria.net. I say recent because it's really just everything from the last like 2 years, essentially. My older work is archived somewhere deep in the internet. If you're interested in my music, I have a Bandcamp. It's holypeople.bandcamp.com. That's HOLY people. I'm on Instagram. It's _holy_people. And I think that's it. If you're interested in my comics, which at this point are, kind of reaching near out of print, Happiness Comics with an X, so that's COMIX .storeenvy.com.
Okay, I'll put that in the description. That's gonna be a hard one.
Yeah, I think the store's closed right now anyway because I've been moving so much. I haven't had time to tend to the store. Yeah. But that's I don't think it's linked to my website right now. So once I update my website, they'll all be in one place. But at the moment, it's a little piecemeal.
Is that everything you want to shout out?
Yes.
Okay. All right. Well, thank you so much for being on the podcast. Hopefully it was fun. I enjoyed. And thank you everyone for listening. And I'll see you guys in the next episode of the Miles House Podcast.
Thank you.